Hey everyone, welcome back. Zoe here, and today we need to talk about something serious. False reporting, swatting, and how trying to weaponize law enforcement across borders can land you in major legal trouble. This morning, Zero Dark Tony made some pretty reckless statements on his stream. He openly admitted to sending an email to Danish police, claiming that Dodge Landesman was an American terrorist. Not only that, but he falsely stated that Dodge was under investigation in the U.S. for hate crimes and damaging religious property. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, he encouraged his viewers to do the same, even providing the official email address of the Copenhagen police. Let's review the clip Cody posted earlier today.
I'm just looking up some of the things about the Danish police. So I'm going to be reporting Dodge to the Danish police for hate crimes because that's what his channel's about. And we're going to let the old Danish government know so they can maybe go have a little talk with him. I mean, Dodge is part of a group that is being investigated for damaging religious property in the United States. He's a piece of shit. So, okay, we just sent a email to the Danish police in Copenhagen, letting them know that they have a dangerous domestic terrorist from the United States whose group is being investigated for hate crimes online. So, Denmark, they're not going to like that. Now, if anybody here would also like to report that, if you are so inclined, if you feel the need, there's the email. There's the email right there. So you can go ahead and, like I did, notify the Danish police that there is um, basically an American terrorist in their country, in Copenhagen, and that he's part of a group, right? That he's part of a group that is harassing, terrorizing people in the United States. And now he's there. That might be a problem. Who knows? We'll see.
Tony has since deleted this video, but you can view this clip on Hero Light Cody's channel. Now let's break this down and talk about exactly why this is a huge legal problem. Because whether Tony realizes it or not, what he did isn't just morally wrong, it's a crime. First, let's start with U.S. federal law. The most obvious violation here is under the False Information and Hoaxes statute, which is found in 18 U.S. Code section 1038. This law makes it a crime to knowingly spread false or misleading information about criminal activity, especially when the claim involves terrorism or violent crimes. The key part of this law is that the false report has to be made under circumstances where it could reasonably be believed to be true. And in this case, Tony wasn't just making some joke in a private group chat, he directly emailed law enforcement in another country and falsely claimed Dodge was a terrorist. This isn't like some internet drama where you can just say whatever you want with no consequences. When you falsely accuse someone of terrorism to the authorities, you're wasting law enforcement resources and potentially putting that person in real danger. Imagine if Danish police took Tony's claim seriously and put Dodge under surveillance, detained him, or flagged him for further investigation. The law exists to prevent this kind of reckless behavior. Under 18 U.S. Code section 1038, Tony could face up to 5 years in federal prison just for making that one false report. And if Dodge suffered actual harm because of it, like being detained or losing opportunities due to the false claim, the penalty could be even harsher. But that's not the only law Tony violated. Another important one is 18 U.S. Code section 1001, which is the law against making false statements. Now, usually, people think of this law in cases where someone lies to the FBI or during an official investigation. But it also applies when someone knowingly provides false information that could influence law enforcement actions. Since Tony falsely claimed that Dodge was under investigation in the U.S., if Danish authorities contacted U.S. officials about it, they would immediately see that it was a lie. That's exactly the kind of false statement that 18 U.S. Code section 1001 was designed to punish. If convicted, Tony could face another 5 years in prison, on top of the penalty for the false terrorism claim. But are federal charges even likely? It all depends on what's happening right now in Copenhagen. If Danish authorities completely ignored Tony's report, never questioned Dodge, and took no action, then federal prosecution becomes far less likely. Law enforcement agencies typically prioritize cases where false reports actually waste police resources or cause real harm. If Dodge was never detained, investigated, or even contacted by authorities, then the practical impact of Tony's lie may not be enough to trigger a federal case. And of course, if Tony never actually sent the email and just made it up for his video, then there was no false report at all, just a fabricated story to stir up drama. That doesn't mean he's in the clear, though. What about California law? While California's false police report law, Penal Code Section 148.5, wouldn't apply in this case because he reported to a foreign authority, there are other California laws that do apply. One of the most important is California Penal Code Section 653.2, which is the law against cyber harassment. This law makes it illegal to use the internet to place someone in fear for their safety, especially by encouraging third parties to act against them. And that's exactly what Tony did when he told his viewers to also email Danish police and report Dodge as a terrorist. He wasn't just making a false claim himself, he was actively trying to recruit others to pile on and get Danish law enforcement involved. That turns this from just a false report into a coordinated harassment effort. Under this law, Tony could face up to 1 year in jail, and if his actions led to serious harm, it could result in even more severe charges. But it doesn't stop there. Since Tony outright fabricated claims that Dodge was involved in terrorism and a hate crime investigation, he created false information with the intent to cause Dodge harm. Now, under California Penal Code Section 182, which is the law against criminal conspiracy, Tony could see serious repercussions. Under California law, if 2 or more people conspire to commit a crime, even if they don't succeed, just planning or encouraging the act is enough to get charged. Because Tony encouraged his audience to also make false reports, it could be considered conspiracy to commit cyber harassment. If this were charged as a felony, Tony could be looking at up to 3 years in state prison, in addition to the other potential penalties. Tony didn't just make a joke or an offhand comment, he provided the actual email address and told people to report Dodge as a terrorist. If at least one person actually sent an email because of Tony's encouragement, then conspiracy could apply. Even if Tony himself never followed through, he could still be legally responsible for a coordinated effort to commit a crime if someone else did. Now, I'm not even going to go into more depth on whether the second person follows through and is in another state, but basically this could escalate it to a federal crime and involve the FBI or Department of Justice. Realistically, unless Danish authorities take this very seriously and escalate it, Tony would not face any direct legal consequences from Denmark while remaining in California. But I'm not sure the LA City Attorney would look too kindly on this act given all of the current charges against Tony, especially since he is currently out on bail. Tony is already facing 26 charges, including harassment, violating a restraining order that prohibits him from harassing a minor online, and cruelty to a child. These are not unrelated offenses. His current legal trouble is directly tied to online harassment, just like this new act. When someone is out on bail, they are required to follow strict conditions, and one of the biggest rules is not committing new crimes, especially ones that are similar to their existing charges. If the LA City Attorney sees this false police report as another act of online harassment, Tony could face severe legal consequences. His bail could be revoked immediately. Judges do not take repeat violations lightly. If Tony is continuing to engage in harassment while awaiting trial, the court could decide he is a danger to the community and remand him into custody until his case is resolved. The prosecution could argue for a much harsher sentence. If Tony is convicted in his current case, this new incident could be used to push for the maximum penalties. Judges consider a defendant's behavior while out on bail, and this could demonstrate a clear pattern of escalating harassment. New charges could be filed against him. The LA City Attorney has wide discretion when it comes to prosecuting online harassment. If they determine that Tony's false terrorism claim is part of a larger pattern of harassment, they could pursue additional charges against him. If his actions led others to submit false reports as well, that could escalate the case even further. Even if federal or Danish authorities choose not to get involved, the LA city attorney could still take action based on Tony violating his bail conditions and continuing his behavior online. At this point, this isn't just an internet stunt, it's a direct threat to Tony's own freedom. If the city attorney decides to act, he could be taken back into custody before his current case even goes to trial. If Dodge decides to sue, Tony could be facing a lawsuit for defamation, emotional distress, and financial damages. Falsely accusing someone of terrorism and criminal activity is considered defamation per se, meaning Dodge wouldn't even have to prove damages, just that the false statement was made publicly and was knowingly false. Courts take accusations of terrorism extremely seriously. Dodge could argue that Tony's statements harmed his reputation, exposed him to potential law enforcement scrutiny, and put him at risk of real-world consequences. And what if Tony is now claiming that this was all just entertainment? What if he never actually sent the email and just made it up for his video? Does that change anything? Not really. In fact, it creates a whole new set of problems. The fact that he provided the real email address of the Copenhagen police and encouraged his viewers to contact them means that even if he personally didn't send an email, he was still soliciting others to make a false report. That is still a crime. If he lied about actually sending the email, then he just admitted to intentionally misleading his audience. That only strengthens a defamation case because he knowingly fabricated a false narrative about Dodge being a terrorist, which could lead to reputational harm, stress, or even real-world harassment. So what's the bottom line? If Tony actually sent the email, he could face false reporting, cyber harassment, and conspiracy charges. If Tony lied about sending the email, he could face defamation, fraudulent misrepresentation, and inciting harassment. Either way, he's not off the hook. Because in the real world, the law doesn't care if you were just joking when you falsely accused someone of terrorism. If your words lead to harm, you're legally responsible for them. So, final word, if you think falsely reporting someone as a terrorist is just a prank, you should probably check the law first. That prank could land you in prison.